How to rebuild brake calipers. So there's a couple of tricks for getting this thing disassembled. I've got the piston here, and if the caliper is still on the car, which it's gonna be, and if you're only doing one side at a time, then one of the tricks for getting this piston out is you can pull the caliper off, leave it attached to the line, and pump your brake pedal, and it'll just keep forcing this piston out until it's enough that you can just pull it out by hand. The other way is if you take it off completely, you can use some compressed air in there, and then the compressed air will start to push the piston out, in which case you need to be very careful not to have your fingers in here at all, because generally they'll reach a point where that piston will just explode out of there with great force, and you could end up really hurting yourself in that way. So once you get the piston loose, you'll have a O-ring. This sits inside of that groove right in there, and then you'll have a dust boot that goes on the outside. So you'll want to get those out. This one is actually got a metal ring around it, so I had to you can see I kind of nicked it a little there. I'll clean that up, but I had to put a pry bar down in and just kind of work my way around with tapping the hammer and getting that pulled out. Once it's fully disassembled, you're going to want to clean up the outside of the piston. You can see I've already started cleaning this one up. It's just kind of dirty from my fingers. I'm just using 1500 on this at the moment, and it's working pretty well. You want to keep even pressure all the way around. You don't want to turn it oblong or something weird like that. That's the inside that goes in that way. You're probably going to want to repaint this, so what I'm working on right now is getting any loose paint chipped up, or you can use a paint stripper, and I'm using sandpaper, and you'll want to get this fully cleaned down, tape up all the areas you don't want paint, of course, and then use some type of high heat ceramic paint is ideal. And then it's pretty simple going back together. We've got, these pads are pretty worn out, but I've got the new dust boot here and the new O-ring right in there, and it's pretty simple just putting those new seals back in and pushing the new piston back in. I actually already have a new caliper on the other side, so I just wanted to rebuild this one since the parts are very affordable. Those seals I think were like a few dollars, less than $5. And if you know, this is my preferred way to actually address new calipers. I don't like remanufactured parts. There we go. That's taped up. Oh, you can see that's taped up. That part's taped up. And there we go with painting the caliper. What I like to do when I'm painting is I try to hit the most difficult spots first. So like I'll come in and spray on that side. I'll try to hit all the intricate spots, all the tight spots, and I kind of just let the rest of it, you know, if I still need to hit the big spots afterwards, then I've still got plenty of paint left to do that. But basically, if I try and just, like, there's one spot there, so I just did one coat on this, so I'll come in and just hit it like that. Just do one little coat, and that way, if you're focusing on, you know, the big spots and you're only spraying on the big spots, then what'll end up happening is you'll then go and try to spray the tight spots and you'll have so much overspray on the easy to reach spots that you end up getting runs. So I'm gonna aim for like in there. I'm gonna aim down for like right there. Not even actually. I'll come in for that corner. And it's looking pretty good. It's a caliper, no one's gonna see it. I'm just trying to keep it from rusting. So I can clean up some of this stuff later, like if it's an actual surface. Like that's kind of cracked up, but nothing really touches that spot. I have everything taped off. So it's the next day, and paint's as dry as I'm gonna let it get dry. You can see it actually looks pretty good. And I got the caliper reassembled. I just had to kind of buckle down and focus on that, because you don't do caliper rebuilds very often unless you're, shops don't typically do it, so unless you're a refurbisher doing the remanufactured parts, you're probably not rebuilding calipers very often. But my tips would be, I probably should have put the seal in after getting the piston seated in, and then put the seal over it. I went ahead and I put the seal in, not thinking about it, and I ended up having to do some real tricky business getting the seal back, because it wants to lay into the caliper, and I had to get it extended out over the piston to get the piston in there, and then I had to keep working it up over the edge as I was pushing the piston in. I don't normally use this tool, but I had to pull it out to help push the piston in evenly, and I just kind of doubled the pads up in there, or you can take a block of wood, because if yours is this design, then this thing wanted to run all the way down into the middle of there. But everything was very tight. I don't think I'm going to have any issues with leaking or any problems with it at all. Just kind of lube up these seals a little bit with some brake fluid before you start assembling, and I'm going to keep pushing on with this. And so there's your new rebuilt and painted caliper installed. Got the slide pins back in and tightened down. You might ask, why don't I paint this part? And you might call that a bracket, but on this truck it's actually part of the hub or wheel bearing. It's a part of the brake disc, so you actually have to hammer the races in for this bearing, and then you have to assemble it inside of the actual hub there, or the disc brake, and then that little cap goes on. You stuff it all full of grease and put that cap on, and that's what makes up your wheel bearing on this. But that's not a removable bracket. I would have to cover all of this stuff up. I can't just remove the disc brake. I'd have to cover everything up, and all of this, if I take a pressure washer in here, all of this will look brand new again. These are new control arms. These are fully rebuilt control arms. These are new shocks. It's just dirty from me going off-road, driving through big mud puddles and stuff. It's just mud, really. But like you can see there's literal chunks of mud and stuff up in there. But next step is I'm going to get this new brake, or it's not a new brake. I have replaced this brake line. But I'm just going to get the brake line reattached, get the bleeder. The bleeder goes in there, and get this working again. I got to bleed the whole brake system anyway, because I am doing a master brake cylinder next on this. So give me a thumbs up, and subscribe, and follow along.